Hello and welcome to Couple Chat. I'm Matt.
And I'm Jackie. And this is Nate.
So today we are going to talk about Boy and Girl Meets World. We obviously both of us have watched Boy Meets World in the past. I don't know about you, but I really only watched it when it was live. So I don't think I've seen every episode before this. And I don't think I really took in everything. You know, I was young. I was watching the show in the 90s, so I was anywhere from nothing or 1 to, when did it start? 92 or 93?
93.
Something like that. Started in 93, then I was like 4, and it ended in 2099, so I was 10, you know, so... So I never really grasped the stories that they were trying to tell. And then her and I have never, ever even looked at Girl Meets World before this. But yeah, so that's what we're here to talk about today. I don't know about you and your experience with it before doing this binge watch.
I obviously watched it back in the day, you know, when it was live on TGI Friday. I think I've seen a lot of the reruns, which is cool.
I guess I probably did too. I didn't think about that.
Well, especially because when I go on vacation to Vermont,
ABC Family.
when we go to Smugs next week, but usually when we go to Smugs, like Disney Channel was my go-to there, so I would watch reruns of tons of different shows, and I think that might have been on there, maybe? I don't know. I just remember certain episodes, and then other things I can't tell you if I remember or not.
Did you not have TV at home that you weren't able to watch?
I mean, I did, but not Disney Channel.
Yeah, but I don't really think it was on the Disney Channel.
Well,
it
like,
was
I
on
didn't
ABC, and then it was on, like, ABC Family.
Right, but I didn't have, like, those channels that you could, like, you would see reruns on until like later on, not till after, maybe high school. But yeah, no, I remember some episodes. I mean, like you said, I was 11 maybe when the show ended.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't something that I would get or understand. But I do remember watching the older episodes and being like, oh, Corey's my age, and then seeing the newer episodes and be like, oh wait, no, he's not. But yeah, no, I remember glimpses here and there of the original series, but I could not tell you what happened throughout.
I think, you know, it's just become part of our culture to know, like, oh, Corey and Topanga, you know, Corey and Topanga.
Topanga!
Sean, you know, Mr. Feeney. I think Mr. Feeney is a huge part of our culture, whether you're a kid or an adult. I think everyone knows who Mr. Feeney is. You know, his character and the actor who plays him is just like, he's the embodiment of him, you know, like, yes, obviously he's been in other films and shows before Boy Meets World, but once he got that role, I mean, he became Mr. Feeney, especially to the kids of the 90s. So, like, we grew up with him knowing him as that, and now it's just, you know, I'm sure more than he would like, he goes out and people say, Feeney! You know, like, regardless of, you know, who he is.
Yeah.
And sadly enough, his real name's escaping me. I know Daniels is in there.
Daniels is his last name.
Yeah. For some
William?
reason, I
think it's William.
William Daniels? I don't know off the top of my head. She might be right, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so that was our previous experiences.
And also, I had never seen Girl Meets World, obviously. I mean, it wasn't something that I was like, yeah, let me turn on Disney Channel and watch this live. So it was really just a binge watch for Girl Meets World for me.
I personally have never been interested in these reboots or rehashes of
reunion.
Yeah, of old TV shows, like Fuller House. I tried. I did. Jackie started watching it, and she continues to watch it. But I think I don't know. Actually, I don't know why you watch it. But for me,
nostalgia purposes.
Not doing it. Not doing it. I watched a few episodes with her, and I literally wanted to kill myself. I loved Full House when I was a kid, but it's not that relatable anymore, and it's really goofy. But now we're talking about Boy Meets World, and I kind of feel the same way. So.
I just finished it. I just finished Fuller House like today. I don't know. There were moments where it was like,
but it's actually over now?
Yeah, like last episode, like it said.
Then they're gonna come out with Fuller.
No, it said our last show again, which is like the name of the last episode of the series of Full House, and it was like a rehash of basically the same thing, but then it all turns around. Everyone's crying. It's TV, but Fuller House is not what we're here to discuss.
No, and I will never discuss it.
Nope.
Anyway, so go ahead with your review of we'll do Boy Meets World, and then we can talk about Girl Meets World slightly until we get into the parallels. But
sure.
So here are reviews of Boy Meets World.
Yeah. So Boy Meets World, I think, definitely still stands up now, which is really funny because a lot of the things that happen in it aren't things that kids today wouldn't run into or wouldn't understand. Like, there's no technology, or there's, their technology isn't as advanced, but they still deal with, doing your homework, family issues, school issues, girlfriend-boyfriend issues. There's a lot of things that are still relevant, which is kind of cool. I feel like if it was done a little bit earlier, like in the 80s or something, it may not be as relatable, but
I still think regardless of the era, there's always going to be that relatability to kids just because, you grow up. Growing up has never really changed. I mean, we have technology and kids use it a lot more than they did.
Mm-hmm.
But, technology existed. Corey plays video games. They don't delve into it that much, but, there's video games. There's a house phone. He even mentions in one of the episodes, he's like, actually, I think his dad mentions, like, I pay for your phone. And, that, as somebody who lives in the era where cell phones exist, and I knew it didn't then, I, at first, had to think, like, pay for his phone? What does he mean by that? And she was actually the one that was like, like, you had to pay for the line in your room. Yeah, you pay for the extra line. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would be like, I paid for your extra line. I could take it off if I want. Right.
That's a privilege. If you, do something wrong or you're grounded or whatever, I can take that privilege away. That's why I, was aware of, oh, wait, they're threatening to take his phone line away.
Now, see, for me, and for you, this is why I find it strange that she would even know this and have it, but we grew up in an era where when we were of a certain age, cell phones already existed. So, I had a cell phone when I was probably, I want to say 13 or 14 was my first phone. Before that, I didn't really need anything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we had a home phone, but it was cordless, so if somebody called on it, I guess I would use that. But I never remember ever really talking on the phone until I had a cell phone.
I didn't have a cell phone until I was 16. So I had my landline in the kitchen, where it is still. There's the landline up on the wall in the kitchen. And then in my bedroom, there was a landline that they had attached, because there's a coaxial port and everything in that bedroom. I had a landline until I was 16. And, I remember, reading...
But you're a girl. Girls talk on the phone.
Sure.
I don't know what that...
I
don't know what you mean by that. You didn't sit...
We do.
What was the point of you having the phone in your room, Jackie?
I don't know.
To talk on the phone to your friends. I don't understand what we're saying. I didn't do that.
I remember...
I made movies with my friends.
Well, yeah. But I remember, reading Half-Blood Prince and...
Over the phone?
Yes, with Rachel.
Okay, so, but you're still talking to your friend, so I don't know what you mean.
I know, but I remember, like, reading it and, like, getting to that part in the book that's really, really emotional and, like, just sitting there crying on the phone with her. And it was kind of like sitting next to each other reading it, but not, because obviously we weren't together. But, like, I remember calling her as soon as it happened, and I remember just lots of emotional times happening over the phone.
Anyway.
But I did not have my own cell phone until I was 16.
Okay. Well, cell phones didn't exist back then, so when...
Right.
Well, actually,
they started.
They technically have existed,
but they were like the big
the
blocks
80s,
with the antenna.
But anyway, so I'm just saying, like, little things like that might go over kids' heads.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 30, and it went over my head. So.
Yeah, but they could relate it to nowadays, where it's like, oh.
Yeah. But then at the same time, you know, it was interesting because there was an episode that focused on Corey making a student film. Mm-hmm. And, you know, yeah, most of the time it was like documentaries. They never actually made a fictional film, which, you know, I would have actually liked to see that. But it was still interesting seeing him walk around with the big VHS camera and shooting a film with his friends and his sibling,
mm-hmm.
Eric. Like, that stuff I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, sorry to interrupt your review.
No, that's fine. Couple chat. We're
No.
supposed to chat.
No. Talk about your review.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was really good, and I thought it was really relevant. When it came to relationships and stuff like that too, like, there were certain points where I was like, oh, I could totally relate. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Kelly and Karen.
Thanks for watching. But I felt like there was a lot that I could relate to, where it was like, oh, I remember having that trouble in school, or I remember having a teacher like that, or a friend like that, you know, that I could kind of just, like, bond with, like Sean and Corey. And it was just really cool to be able to kind of relive my adolescent years, because I do remember certain points. I do remember watching the finale. I do remember watching certain episodes in the last season, like live, like TGIF live. But
I definitely, like, when we got to certain episodes.
Hi, Aunt Donna.
Hi. You know, I myself was like, oh, yeah, I remember this. Or, oh, this is what's going to go on. You know, like, there were definitely moments like that for me.
Yeah.
But then there were episodes where I was like, what is going on in this show?
Yeah, well, you were half paying attention for some of it.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, you know, with this show, I've come to realize that I'm not really into sitcoms. Not as much as, you know, a lot of other people. We did binge watch, like, How I Met Your Mother a while back, and she's been watched Friends probably a couple times now. And, I mean, I'll catch, like, Big Bang Theory, and, you know, I do like Seinfeld. Seinfeld's probably one of the exceptions, but these aren't, to me, binge-worthy shows, and I lose interest quick because most of these types of shows are serials, you know? Every episode has its own story, and everything develops within that short span of time, which is usually 22 minutes. And, you know, I'm a filmmaker, and if you're going to tell a good story, it doesn't matter how long it is. As long as it works within the time frame that you're using, that's fine. But for me, sometimes you just can't tell a good story in 22 minutes. And I feel like there are plenty of moments in sitcoms where the stories just fall flat because they're trying too hard to resolve things within a short span of time. Now, with Boy Meets World, I feel like there are self-contained episodes that are really well done. But for me, the best episodes in the series were the story arcs, where they did multiple episodes, or where things didn't feel completely resolved in an episode. And it may be that that's the single episode kind of about that subject, but then it affects the characters as the story goes on or as the episodes continue. So, like, for me, those were the more interesting episodes because I felt like I was watching a show that had drama and these characters were real. But most of the time, I don't watch stuff like this. I don't find it that interesting. I want to watch something that's a little more in-depth and, driven by character development. One of my favorite shows, and I mean, she probably agrees with this, but one of my favorite shows is Breaking Bad. It's just huge on character development. And just giving them that extra time, it's only double the time. Most Breaking Bad episodes are 44 minutes. It's only double the time, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
But it's also not trying to resolve a storyline in one episode. Yeah, they resolve a fraction of a bigger story. But, especially like when it gets into its second season, they're trying to resolve a story that takes place over the whole season. They show that by showing glimpses of the ending. They're trying to rope you in. Boy Meets World and most other sitcoms don't do stuff like that. So I tend to lose interest. So when she says I'm half paying attention to things, yeah, she's probably right, because there were times where I was like, this episode, because that's something that happens in a lot of sitcoms, is this episode, not feeling it. So I go off and do something else or kind of half pay attention. But the ones that really caught me, those were the ones that I put my phone down or I'd stop doing what I was doing and I'd pay more attention.
Yeah.
And it does have those moments. And,
for sure.
And I'm not going to lie, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that agree with this, and you agree, but the show can get some emotions out of you. It does a pretty good job. And I think it's like she said, it's because you connect with the characters on a different level from, oh, we know these people. It's more so you understand these people because you've been there, you've done that, you've had relationships like this. You may miss a teacher, you may miss some old friends or something like that, or you may have a friend that went through a situation like that. I know for me, I'm from divorced parents, so I found it very interesting that they never really get into an in-depth conversation about divorce, except when Topanga's parents get divorced. But I felt so disconnected from that storyline, and it's because they had an issue, I guess, keeping the same actors throughout. And I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent.
No, you're fine.
That was the one opportunity they had to connect with me on a level that I would completely understand, and it fell flat because 3 or 4 different actors played her dad and her mom, and it just, that made it a disconnect because I could never connect with her parents. They always came on screen as different people, and I was like, there's no connection here. And they didn't even try to keep the actors the same. And what I mean by that is none of them felt like they were playing the same character.
I mean,
which made it worse.
What was funny is, so we watched Feeney's wedding at the end of season 6. Whatever end of that, whatever season that was. And then
which was also a throwaway story that they literally show her for a couple of episodes, Feeney's wife, and she never returns.
Dean Bollinger, yeah, she never returned in the next season. She never
returns, and she's not in Girl Meets World. They never even expressed that he's really married after that. So I don't know what their point was with doing that storyline.
No.
Sorry, just
it's fine.
A tidbit of information. I'm sorry, I don't think we said spoilers before this. Too late now.
It says it in the description. And
who hasn't watched this?
I mean, you're just here for this kid's face, right?
They can't even see it.
The boy. I mean, it's black.
Nobody wants that. If anything, I'm surprised we haven't gotten comments saying, "Where's Nate? Bring him."
Hopefully next week.
Where we will be in a new setting.
Yes.
Anyway.
But the literally next episode, which is the first episode of the next season, the parents are different, and you see them in the end of the episode before. So for us, it was even super jarring because we knew the dad. He's the guy that plays Chuck in Better Call Saul.
But that's another problem. They go from this mild-mannered kind of hipster.
He's the guy
dad.
from the Monkees.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hipster dad that plays him in most of the series, by the way, not just a throwaway episode. He was in the first season, second season, I think even the third season. He made appearances throughout.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you didn't see her parents because they moved to Pittsburgh. And they live in Philadelphia. So once they moved to Pittsburgh, that was it. You didn't see her parents for seasons on end. And then the next time they came about, the actor that was Lenny and Laverne and Shirley, he was in Spinal Tap. He played Chuck. Again, I don't know why his name is escaping me. I knew it at one point in my life.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Welcome.
But he's all of a sudden playing her dad, and he's a character actor. He's very good at his job, and I'm not saying that the guy who was in The Monkees was bad at his job, but it's just jarring. It's jarring when you have an actor that you know so well playing a role, because now it's like, oh, that guy's playing her dad? He never played her dad before, right? No. So what?
Yeah.
That's confusing. It just made it confusing.
Yeah. And it's fine. Like, the casting purposes, okay, something happens to the first actor, fine, you need to change it to a second. Or
it happens.
Scheduling conflicts totally makes sense. I mean, there's someone else that happened with as well. But to change it between one season and another season, when they're only in 2 episodes in that next season, they're in the first episode and the wedding episode. Like, there was no reason to change him again. Like, did they not like the guy that played her dad in the season before? I don't understand. But they seem to have casting issues with certain characters in that show.
Yeah.
But that's with any TV show. Some TV shows.
But see, at the same time, where I felt like her parents were done poorly. For those of you who don't know, the first 3 seasons, I think, Corey's sister Morgan is played by a completely different actress, and then all of a sudden she disappears for like half of a season, and then that was weird enough because I think this is a problem with most sitcoms. And it shows heavily in Boy Meets World, and a huge reason why I actually have a hard time really enjoying it is sitcoms are a weekly affair, have always meant to be that, and they're watched, that week.
Periodically.
Never to be seen again. Nobody ever thought you would see this in a rerun even when it first aired. And then eventually reruns became a thing, and reruns were whatever, but reruns are sporadic. It's not like they ever show, like, episodes in an order. It's just, hey, here's an episode. But when a sitcom airs, it's over, you have a whole week to think about it or not, and then the next episode airs, and so on and so forth. So when you binge watch a show that was meant to air once a week, you notice shit. And Boy Meets World does some really, really stupid things, especially early on, that we noticed. And it's not hard to not notice, especially because we're watching the episodes back to back.
And, like, the continuity is ridiculous.
It's terrible.
Like, the one episode...
Between episodes.
The one episode, Corey and Topanga are dating. And the next episode, Topanga's not even in the same class that Corey was just in with her.
Right.
And it just, like, skips all over the place.
They also move students within the class.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden you watch an episode, and like she said, so if Corey and Topanga are in a class together, then yeah, they may not be in the next episode, but then there might be completely different kids in the same class.
In her seat or in his seat or whatever.
Like, just weird things. And then different like day players having different, like, they have lines, but they weren't in the class before. And so confusing. And then they do things like, they literally gave Sean and Corey completely different lockers within like 5 or 6 different episodes. Not even like, hey, this is a different year. It's like one episode, he had that locker. And then the next episode, he had that locker.
My favorite was the first episode, the boys' bathroom.
Oh,
was
in the second
door.
season.
No, in the first season. Oh, in the second season, right.
No, because they were in high school.
Right.
And, yeah.
So it's
this is when they got to high school.
Right, so it's a boys' bathroom. And then literally, the next episode, it's Feeney's office.
Yeah.
Hi, Ty.
What's up, Ty?
Thanks for watching.
Talking boy and girl meets
world.
the world.
But yeah, like it goes to from boys' room to Feeney's locker. Like I get it. They had limited
Probably
locations,
budget back
limited
then,
sets,
too.
limited
Yeah,
ghost
lots of
budget.
things.
But
It was
that's a bit
just
too much on the nose. Like if you want to make the boys' bathroom Feeney's office and then flip flop back and forth, then
they did it a few times throughout the series.
It doesn't. And then there was a point where they finally were like, okay, this is Sean's locker. We're always going to have it be Sean's locker. This is Corey's. We're always going to have it be
they
Corey's.
did eventually solidify it, but early in this show, it's just so jarring to see them.
And then the last episode when they're in high school, there's the senior hall. And it's like, senior hallway. Like, and what school has that?
They show all these teachers that never exist.
Right. And then...
Which I find hilarious, too. But they do... See, the things that are really, really, like, on the nose, like, clearly it's the story that's pushing the characters in certain areas, not so much realism. And, but they tend to be very meta with stuff like that. Once they realize, okay, this is being pushed out of realism, let's get meta about it. And what I mean by that, so I'll come back to Feeney, but with Morgan, so she disappears. This is how we got on this subject. She disappears for like half a season.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden...
Like from the beginning of the season to the middle.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, I think Corey calls for her. Like, where's Morgan? Haven't seen her in a while. Morgan! And she comes down the stairs, completely different actress.
Yeah.
But they know it. Like, it's like they purposely... Like, they didn't want to hide the fact that this is a different person. So, she comes down the stairs, and the parents are like...
Where have you been?
No, because they're like, did you learn something or whatever? And she's like, I've been in a really long time out. Like, that's what she says.
Yeah.
And it's like they purposely are putting this in your face to, like, bluntly say, hey, this is clearly a different actress, like, without saying it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. Fine. And it took us a while, though. The original actress, I thought, was much better than the girl they brought in. But, you know, it could just be, obviously, we liked the little girl that was playing her originally. It's hard to envision her in a different actress. But as time went on, I think she grew into the cast. And she was good. In a different way, though.
Yeah.
And, but then the whole Feeney thing, too. So he was their middle school teacher, and then he becomes their principal. And then somehow he works his way into college. However, again, they're very meta with it. They realized what they were doing, so they had to just bluntly put it out there. Like, hey, Feeney's always been our teacher. Isn't that kind of weird? Like, they bluntly put these things out there.
Yeah.
So when they do stuff like that, great. But they try to force feed Topanga's parents down your throat. Like, acting as though we've never seen them before and we should agree that these are different people.
Yeah.
That, I think, is what made it more jarring than them just bluntly saying. Because I remember in the beginning of, it had to be the 6th season. No, I guess the last season. Because that's when they get married. But when Corey knocks on her dad's apartment door, and he opens the door, and it's not the same actor, we're sitting there like, that's clearly not Chuck. Or whatever his name is. But Corey doesn't, like, say... You know, it would have been funny if he turned to Sean, because Sean was with him, and he was like, "It looks different, doesn't it?"
Yeah.
You know, like, just something like that. They did it so many times throughout the show, and it was so blatantly obvious. But, you know, again, this is a TV show. There could have been months between those 2 episodes, because it was the first episode or second episode of the final season, that, you know, people may not even notice. But we're watching it in a binge-worthy fashion that it wasn't very noticeable. But yeah, so to back up, that was the one thing that they could have connected me to, and it fell flat because of that whole actor turnover.
Yeah.
But there were other things. You know, Jackie and I have a very strong relationship, and we met in college, unlike Corey and Topanga, but seeing them go through their trials and tribulations, obviously some things reminded me of us, but at the same time, they're not very us. You know, where Corey was the one getting into mischief and doing stupid things and making bad decisions. Well, I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie. And this is Nate.
Anyway. So yeah, anything else to say about Boy Meets World that like you know?
It's great. It's great.
You thought it was great.
I mean, it
like
was
as a
fun
whole,
and nostalgic, and I don't know. I thought it was good.
It had good moments. There were some really great moments, but I didn't feel they were as close as these really goofy things. And another thing that I hate. Sorry, I gotta put these things out there.
It's fine.
So another big thing that I realize in sitcoms that I really despise is characters become caricatures of themselves as time goes on. And what I mean by this is it's very noticeable with Eric in this show, Corey's brother. So in the beginning, yeah, he's dumb. He's always been kind of dumb. But in the beginning, he's a normal dumb guy. You know, he makes some stupid decisions, but he's good at heart, and he has a connection with kids. Like he has a fatherly feel about him, and he always wants to help out a kid here and there. He's a good guy, but he doesn't know what to do with his life. And whenever the story revolved around him, that's what it was. But then there was a switch. At a point, he started doing like goofier and goofier things. And eventually, his character turned into this idiotic, like, just goofball that would do outrageously stupid things that you would never imagine a person to do. Like, he dressed up as a couch to like hunt Topanga for no apparent reason. Like, it didn't even resolve anything. Mm-hmm. But like that happens in TV shows, that people get attached to certain things about characters. And in sitcoms, it happens so often. So not only did it happen to him, but even Corey himself. So she did the whole Topanga thing.
Topanga.
That's a thing that they like. We love this. The audience loves it. You're going to do it all the time. You know? I don't know what that is.
It's the thing that Sean and Corey do.
Sure. But here's another perfect example that everybody knows. How you do? Like, he did that. This is, for those of you who don't know, that there's 3 people watching, but that's Joey from Friends. And I don't even watch the show, really. But when I watch it, that always happens. Why does it always happen? Because Joey, everybody in Friends, and you could read tons of articles about this. I recommend doing it because it's a really interesting subject about sitcoms. But every character in Friends started out as like pretty normal people. Yeah, they had little ticks about them and whatever. They're people. But Joey specifically, kind of similar to Eric, he was always kind of dumb, but lighthearted guy, really cares about people, cares about his friends, says some stupid things every once in a while. But as time went on, he said, "How you doing?" once. Audience loves it. You're doing it every time. Probably every episode. There's maybe a 1 or 2 here and there that he probably doesn't say it, but I guarantee you, if you look back, he probably says it. There's a moment in time where he says it once, and then eventually it just happens. And then he became this stupid caricature of himself where he just wanted to eat and be dumb and do stupid things. And this is one of the reasons why I hate Friends altogether. Sorry, everybody who loves Friends, but they do it with every character in that show. Get it off. In
How I Met Your Mother, they do that too.
Yeah, it just happens with sitcoms because the I don't know, the creators of the show, the producers, they see that this thing brings numbers in, and then they make these actors do these things over and over again. But anyway, I digress. I could go on for hours about characters becoming caricatures. So anyway, how do you feel? What was your review on that?
On which? Girl Meets World? Or
No, Boy Meets World. We didn't even talk about Girl Meets World yet.
Oh, I thought we were...
I am going to say, I think overall, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it's good. It really grabs the emotion on occasion. Sometimes it shoots itself in the foot, though, where I start to get emotional, but then they do something stupid, mostly Eric's fault, that makes me kind of lose out on the emotion. They did that a lot in Girl Meets World. I will get to it. But yeah.
I try.
What?
Aunt Donna said, "You're killing me, Jackie."
What?
Because I was going to Topanga. Making funny noises and faces.
But yeah, so I would say a 7.
Yeah, I mean, 7 seems right. It's relatable. It's good. Not something I would just be like, Oscar worthy, but...
You didn't get an Oscar for TV, Jackie.
Grammy,
huh? For Boy Meets World.
God. What is it?
Boy Meets World. You can get a Grammy for that.
Tony, Grammy, Oscar.
There's 2 of them you could get.
Well, I know. Okay.
A Golden Globe.
Golden Globe.
Or an Emmy.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Which I don't know if it got any of that stuff. Probably not. Sitcoms are usually panned. Anyhow.
Hee.
So, then, they said, let's make more money.
15 years later.
Yeah. And...
Yeah, but Danielle and Ben were co-producers.
Let's make more money.
Yeah.
Come on.
But they produced it.
Disney said, let's make more money, and they made more money. And for some reason, Ben Savage got a nose job. Just saying. It's very jarring. If you watch Girl Meets World, you are going to notice it, and you are going to be like, what happened to his nose?
I mean, what if he got into a knife fight or something?
Anyway, so Girl Meets World's a thing.
Yeah.
We watched it because, obviously the same reason anybody watches these reunion type of shows. We were looking for the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I liked it. I think it's funny because, okay, so remember, we binge watched Boy Meets World, and in one episode, Corey says his boy and girl name, and Topanga says hers. And we get into Girl Meets World, and neither of those names are used.
Yeah. Very strange names for the kids, too. Names that they didn't even express why they had picked those names somewhere throughout. And they did flashbacks. They talked so much about the past.
Mm-hmm.
You would have thought they would have said, hey, this is why your name's Riley, and this is why your son's name is August. Such a weird name to choose for a boy that comes from a normal family. Did they mention why his name was that? Because you're fingering around.
I told you why.
Why?
Because if you look at the credits, his actual name is August.
Okay, yeah.
And it made it easier for them to act with him because he was pretending to be himself.
Okay, fine.
And Ava, the same thing.
No, I know, but Ava's the other little girl that he acts with. They were probably both the same age when the show started, probably about 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, fine. All right.
So the boy,
I'll give them that.
Needed to be a better actor, and you give him his actual name. And fine, whatever.
He was pretty good. I actually liked him.
Yeah.
I thought he was funny. Mm-hmm. And as it was only 3 seasons, you could kind of tell it was probably canceled. But he was good. He was enjoyable. I actually think I liked him better than the girl that was the lead. She was okay.
They were forcing it too much. Uh-huh. They were forcing.
They were caricatures from the beginning. They didn't even have time to grow into a caricature. Mm-mm. They were literally, and you know, it's sad. They were forced to be caricatures of the people who came before them.
Right, of their parents, not able to be themselves.
Exactly, and it was sad. Yeah, it's sad. And I think that's what kind of killed the show because they were forcing things.
Mm-hmm. It was okay. I liked the fact that they kind of kept the story going because last we see Corey and Topanga in Boy Meets World, they're moving to New York to be at this big law firm and how she's going to get a job there after college and all this stuff. And they actually kept that going. And she's a big lawyer at this big law firm in New York. And they started a family there.
Somehow she's a lawyer and she cooks and she takes care of her son who doesn't have a babysitter. So go be a lawyer. I guess you can do all these amazing things.
Hi, Lan.
Hi, Luann. Are you a lawyer? Can you take care of a son and cook?
No.
Well, Topanga can.
Luann's from Amboy.
Hi, Luann from Amboy. I'm Matt from
Matland. Anyway,
like Riley Land?
No, it's Riley Town. No, it's Rileyville.
Who cares?
Whatever.
Nobody cares.
Anyway, but going back to overall, I thought it was well done. I think it was interesting how no, listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
These new age teeny bopper sitcoms, unfortunately, they're all the same.
You know, I bet our parents said the same thing about Boy Meets World.
My mom watched it with me. That's all I can remember. She watched it with me. But okay, so something that I would like to do when my son,
you have a kid,
and my
He's
other
right
children watch TV in their later lives, I kind of want to have like a discussion with them after, kind of like how we do after we see a movie or watch TV.
So we're gonna have family chat.
Yeah. But I kind of want to see like, okay, well, what did you get from that episode, or what do you think was the moral of the story, or what did you like, what did you not like? Like,
oh, for sure.
I think that's something that I'm sure my mom did for a couple of those episodes because they had some serious moments.
But see, not that I doubt your mom and anything she did, but I doubt it because not a lot of people do what we do. Like, we're so connected to entertainment, and we look into things probably more than a lot of other people do. But it's not, it's not a jab at anybody. It's just the fact that that's how we are.
Mm-hmm.
We make it a part of our lives where, a lot of other people are just like, wow, that was a great story. See you later. Us, we watch something and we see how it relates to us and our lives and why we relate to certain characters and stuff. And that's, that's something we like to do. And yeah, for sure, I want to embed that into our children, especially, I think about it now with Nate. I'm excited to show him movies and TV shows that I love. And we probably will be watching Boy Meets World again when he gets a little older.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to show it to him at an age where he'd understand more things. And that is a great way, to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Because I would love to, watch an episode and be like, hey, so without, pushing him in one direction, like, what did you get from that episode?
Yeah.
And that's how I'd want to do anything, like, and if we embed that in him at a young age, eventually maybe he'll just be asking us. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing, like, especially with Girl Meets World, that they did really well, was they brought you into reality or current events for children. Like, okay, Riley had a bully. Farkle had a bully. Technology.
Who named these characters?
I don't know. But technology played a huge role.
There was a great social media episode.
Yes.
That was really well done.
Yeah. But there are certain points where I'm like, wow, like that's a great topic to punch on and to really, make a viewer think about which side of the thing that would be. And like, yeah, you get Riley's perspective, but you also get Maya, who is her best friend, and you get the adult's perspective. And they always make sure to tie in a moral.
Yeah.
For all characters involved in the episode. Like, everyone involved has to be touched by it somehow.
And Corey takes on the role of the Feeney. Feeney. Yeah. So he's their teacher, and he's a history teacher, so he always brings up a piece of history to relate it to what the kids are dealing with at that time.
Which is what Vinny did.
But I don't think as in
depth. Boy Meets World, but it wasn't to the extent, like you said, it wasn't as elaborate as it is for them in Girl Meets World, because Corey makes it their assignment to relate it to these events. Feeney, I mean, he would give them assignments, but it wouldn't be as connected to the subject matter as it would be whatever they were dealing with.
The only thing that super annoyed me about it was whenever a situation would come up, it would always have to do with his daughter and her friends, and like everybody else in the classroom are like shunned.
But what I did like was, because it's even mentioned in later episodes in the third season, especially
they get very meta with it.
They do, but they start to be like, oh, you're in this class, you know, so and so, your name, that his name, her name.
Yeah, they did start to do that a little.
Corey at one point says, "Hi, I know." He literally goes around the entire room, like no, not the main four, or five. He goes around the entire room, says everybody's name, and says, "I'm sure you guys are friends with each other. I'm sure you have your special groups. Take care of each other and you know, protect each other." Because that's what he's trying to teach the core 4 or 5. And it's interesting to me that they did that. And it was meta, but it made sense.
It was definitely
in that
better.
Episode.
It was definitely better than Boy Meets World when it came to that.
Yeah.
They started off kind of more like how Boy Meets World was, where it was like, oh, if you're not Sean, Topanga, and Corey, you're basically not talked to. Or they like add in a couple of day players that, you know, say a line here and there or are somewhat related to the story, and those characters get to speak. In this, it was a little better as the show went on, but it did start out a little more like that. But I never cared for that in these types of shows, you know. But again, it's a sitcom thing, you know. They don't have time to flesh out all these characters. They have 20 minutes to tell you a story. If everyone was to say something or have an input, it wouldn't be able to happen.
Right.
So I get it, but blame the format, not the show, I guess.
Yeah. But, I mean, like I said, overall, I think it's cool how they related it to now. Unfortunately, Disney has this habit of what's the word?
Buying everything
well,
and becoming a monopoly.
They've been for a long time. No, what I'm trying to say is glamorizing everything. Like,
well, that's true.
Like every TV show,
the actors alone who play the main characters, even the nerds, are beautiful kids.
They're way too pretty.
Like the kid that played her Riley, Corey's daughter's love interest. Where the hell did this kid come from? Like, he is the prettiest boy I've ever seen in anything. And I mean, fine, but it's very unrealistic. I would love in my child's generation to see a show like Freaks and Geeks, where it's a bunch of like normal looking kids that just act normal and are dealing with normal everyday situations. Like, yeah, they deal with normal situations in a way, but like she said, it's kind of glamorized. And Disney does it worse now. I think it's worse now than when Boy Meets World was on. Boy Meets World, so for me, Corey's a lot more normal looking. Yeah. And than
even Topanga.
Yeah, even Sean. Honestly, the 3 core characters of Boy Meets World are a lot more normal looking than the kids in.
And they didn't know they would grow up to look like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Sean, you know, like, Ryder Strong. I know his name. You know, yeah, I mean, he grew into being this handsome guy, especially as the show was ending. Like, the girl, he was the heartthrob on the show. Like, all the girls were all over him. But, you know, I mean, Corey, it's Ben Savage. Like, he's not a looker, really, and that's probably why he got a nose job. He got a nose job. But, you know, I mean, that, I think, was what was great about Boy Meets World, is the actors were even relatable. Like, they seemed like normal kids. And, you know, it's funny because now that I'm mentioning it, I feel like the 90s had more of that.
Yeah.
Where today it is worse. She's right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Disney definitely...
but it's been like that for years. Like, Sweet Life of Zach and
that's
Cody,
what I'm saying.
And Drake and Josh, and all these TV shows that we've seen.
Bull. You mentioned Drake and Josh. I don't believe that with Drake and Josh, because the cool thing that I liked about that show was Josh was
relatable, but Drake was pretty as all heck and had his fat sidekick. That was the whole point.
Yes, but okay, so for you people who don't know, I'm a bit on the chubby side. When I watched that show, I could relate to Josh, but I also related to Drake because he was kind of douchey and he was in control. So I felt like I was a mixture of both of them. But Josh was always the lighthearted, nice guy, that he was always the one showing Drake the moral, usually. The two of them together were great, and it showed the aspects of both parts of life.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I never really watched it.
Oh, I loved that show. I thought it was a great show.
But what I'm saying is, like...
And it was before Miranda Cosgrove sucked. So.
But in general, like, Disney has this thing where they take these beautiful children, put them on a screen, and be like, look, kids, this is what your middle school and elementary school and high school lives are going to be like. And it's like, it's not even logic. Logic just does not exist, and it's not right, and it's scary and upsetting to think that, you know, that these are the standards these kids have to live up to.
And then it's another sad point to this is, and she actually pointed this out to me, as these 3 seasons, it's not a long time. Boy Meets World was on for 7 seasons. So in 3 seasons, the girls, they matured slightly, but never to the point where, I mean, Corey and Topanga were, Ben Savage and Danielle Fishel had to be in their 20s by the end of the series. So they grew up. They went from being 12 to being in their 20s. That's a difference. These girls went from being 12 to 14. It's not a huge difference. And she pointed out to me as the series went on that they were making Riley wear more provocative clothing. And
they did that with Topanga too, though.
Topanga I never felt like it was to the extent that Riley was, though.
No.
So you know, unfortunately, when she mentioned it, it was hard not to notice after that. So it's just disturbing. It's disturbing that costume designers would be doing things like that too. You know, like, let's try and show these kids that maybe life shouldn't be like that. You know, like, they're the ones giving the opportunity to change the way things should be on TV. And you know, I mean, these kids may be pretty, sure, but you don't have to dress them like they're whores. And there were moments where it was like that. And it's, you know, I mean, that's where kids learn this stuff from. They're watching these things and they're learning from it, you know? So she's definitely right about that. They glamorize things. They make the kids seem like this is how everyday life should be. And you know, it is a sad thing, because I would like to see more shows where you see kids like they did in the 90s, you know? Because it's crazy thinking about it now, but there are a lot of shows that were in that time that the kids looked more normal. Yeah. It was normal kids.
I mean, Sabrina, she looked normal.
Yeah, I mean,
Barbie looked normal.
Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah.
She was still a good-looking young girl.
Yeah, but she wore normal clothes. It wasn't like she was wearing crazy...
I would have to see it again to really judge. But either way, you know, that's not what we're here to talk about. Oh my God, light dead. But anyway.
Matt didn't charge the lights before.
It lasted for a while. We're talking too long. That's what it is. So, whatever. Girl Meets World, too glamorous. Ended it on a bad note. I felt like it ended on a bad note. They try to force feed the characters down your throat, tried to make them way too much like their nostalgic counterparts. They even forced this terrible storyline with Sean. Just so terrible. They shoehorn him in, and then they even...
I don't think they shoehorned
him in.
It made it make sense at first, because, Sean's coming for Christmas. Fun.
Yeah.
But then they shoehorned him in to stay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was shoehorned into the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Because it just never made enough sense. Even the characters in the show were forcing the storyline together. Like, Corey and Riley were forcing, what's her best friend's name? Maya and Sean into this bubble to like, hey, look, you guys are related. Oh my God, you guys could be buddies. Oh my God, she has a mom and she's single. Yeah, like it was so forced. And then they even forced even further when they brought in Angela for a cameo.
Mm-hmm.
Only complete stupidity. Like, no way she would have ever knew Sean was where he was.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where she came from. She literally came there to basically say, hey, don't think about me anymore. I'm married and I want to have a kid. So
you think I'd be a good mom?
So go have your life. Like, it was so stupid. They shoehorned him into having this relationship with this woman and being a father figure to this girl who he doesn't even know. It was just, that bothered me a lot because he's such an essential part of Boy Meets World, and they felt his story was incomplete in the series, which, it was, but that's life.
Mm-hmm.
That's life. I would have found it more interesting if they ended the show on a note where, like, yeah, maybe he went out with this woman, but whatever, it didn't work out. They had a good time. Maybe he sees this girl and, he sees himself in her, but they don't have to, continue down this path. Like, they forced him to marry her. Like, they get married. It didn't even make any sense.
They forced him to marry her mom.
Yeah, Maya's mom.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense. That was a big problem I had with the show. Because it became such an essential part of the story, I felt.
Yeah.
But overall, a lot of force feeding the characters and stories.
Mm-hmm.
There were some good moments.
Yeah.
But definitely less than Boy Meets World. So I think I'd give it a 6.
I don't think it's... 6 is...
Stop agreeing with me, Jackie.
5. Give it a 5. It was awful. No,
you can agree.
No, 6 was pretty accurate.
So yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched upon everything that we wanted to say, unless you have some more to say about either of them.
Well, I liked some of the parallels they had, and then I didn't like some of the other parallels they had.
Yeah.
What was interesting, though, was a lot of the cameos. Some of them felt forced, some of them not so much. But
I agree.
The last episode, I didn't know it beforehand. Matt knew it, because he looked up a bunch of crap on it.
What?
But I didn't know they brought back both Morgans.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And I didn't know that they brought back the original guy that played Josh, or the original boy, because it's Michael Jacobs' son. But I didn't know that. So when I saw Morgan and Morgan, it was cool.
Well, they were first it was weird because when
you didn't know who they were.
Yeah, when the scene started, they were just kind of sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, who the hell are those two women? Like, they looked like full-grown women sitting there. And they hadn't been shown throughout the series.
Yeah, they were the only ones that didn't, come in for their own episode or anything.
I actually, you know what I liked better that I didn't feel like it was forced was the whole Josh and Maya relationship. So Josh is Riley's uncle, Corey's younger brother. He's the one that's kind of just born out of nowhere in Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
I like their relationship because that to me made sense. I was in similar relationships myself because, my sister is much older than me, so I was a young kid seeing her bringing home, these pretty young high school girls, and I'm 10. or less than that, like all goo-goo for these girls, and obviously nothing was gonna happen, but you know, I'm a young kid, and that's, you know, I see, ooh, pretty girl, like, so I like that story because Maya is, you know, when the show starts, 12, 13, Josh is 16, 17,
Mm-hmm.
she was like, ooh, pretty boy, you know, like, and you know, it was interesting to see their dynamic as the show went on, but then it kind of got a little silly towards the end, but I did like that kind of stuff because to me that's you know, that's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I mean, were there other things? I know you're saying similarities. They did repeat a lot of storylines. They try to modernize some things that happened in Boy Meets World with Girl Meets World. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it was really terrible.
Yeah.
Like they even probably my favorite storyline in Boy Meets World was they bring Linda Cardellini in for a guest appearance over the course of like 3 episodes, and she's basically this character that divides Corey and Topanga. The biggest divide that they had, the thing that they talk about for the rest of their lives. And it's true. And this kind of stuff happens, and that's why I think I love this story so much, because it's so realistic. And I mean, I myself can relate. You know, we've all been there. We've all had stuff like this happen. Maybe not to the extent that happened with Corey and Topanga, or maybe worse than that. But with them, Linda Cardellini plays this girl who Corey becomes infatuated with at this ski lodge that they're there for, like, it's their senior trip.
It's a ski trip. Just a ski trip.
Yeah, but it happens in their senior year.
Oh, it's a senior ski trip. Yeah.
So they go there. Corey hurts his foot.
He falls off the bus.
Yeah, so he doesn't get to go ski.
Yeah.
So he's in the lodge with his foot up in a cast, and she starts talking to him, and they start up this relationship a little bit, and then one night he stays up talking to her, and they find out they have so much in common. He actually starts to really like her, and they kiss, and it just, you know, all hell breaks loose between Corey and Topanga. Sean gets involved doing his mischievous BS. But it's just really good. And it didn't have time for bullshit. It didn't have time to put caricature moments in. So it really focused on the characters. It really focused on how Topanga and Corey would deal with that kind of, situation. And nothing felt forced. It felt like it naturally moved forward. And you know, once it all ended up, obviously they came back together. It felt realistic. They both had a moment where he went out with her, and Topanga went out with another boy, and they both realized, you know, like, yeah, they may like these people or they don't, but it's not what they want, you know. It was interesting. That was my favorite storyline, I think, in Boy Meets World. However, they tried to force it upon you in Girl Meets World. They go back to the same ski lodge. Riley hurts her foot getting off the bus. Riley meets Linda Cardellini's son, and he starts putting a divide between the guy that Riley likes, which, by the way, is the worst. They did such a terrible job trying to put these two characters. Their chemistry is horrendous. Terrible chemistry.
And you never see them go on a date.
They don't do anything.
They kissed once. And they're, you know, you're my first boyfriend, you're my first girlfriend. Like, which is fine. If you don't want to sexualize it, or if you don't want to, like, do that, fine. But at least make them hold hands. You only see them hold hand once.
It just wasn't good. Like Corey and Topanga's relationship, we watched grow throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
This one was forced. It was, everything in Girl Meets World was, okay, what happened in Boy Meets World? All right, let's try and replicate that with slight twists. But it won't have that much of a twist.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, this specifically, it was one of the major storylines of the whole series. It just, there was no story there. There wasn't anything to go off of, and And then they try and force this moment where it literally replicates the same thing that happened in Boy Meets World. I literally sat there and was like, is this over yet? It really needs to be over because they're not doing anything. Mm. And eventually it's going to come right around to where I knew it was going to. Oh, I don't like him. I'm going to stay with them. And blah, blah, blah. It was just dumb. And they resolved it quicker, too. It wasn't like they spanned it over multiple episodes like Boy Meets World did. They resolved it in like the 2 episodes that it took place in. They never kissed. It's not like this kid divided them like Linda Cardellini's character did.
Right.
It was stupid. It was stupid and pointless. They didn't even have to touch upon it to get into that storyline in Girl Meets World, because there was a great episode in Girl Meets World where Corey is teaching the kids about their past and how he wants them to put stuff in a time capsule. Mm-hmm. And he remembers, oh my god, we did a time capsule when we were kids. So they go back, they dig up Feeney's yard, and, you know, really cool little cameo that made sense. It wasn't forced, you know, like, yeah, I mean, look at their yard. They never really had a yard. They buried it in Feeney's yard. Fine, whatever. So, but they pull it up, and not forced, made sense. Topanga put the letter in there that Linda Cardellini wrote. Mm-hmm. And it was a fantastic moment because she explained how she almost let this little piece of paper ruin their relationship. It was such a great, mature way of looking at a story that was immature. Mm-hmm. You know, like, she almost let her whole relationship die when she didn't understand love at that time, you know? It's a very cool way to look at things. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they did that. But then they go and they do the storyline anyway in the 3rd season, and it's like, they didn't need to do it. They didn't need to do it. They already touched upon it in the series. Yeah. Anyway, Matt.
Isn't that
Jackie?
what he's turned into eventually?
I talk too much.
He does.
I'm
That's
sorry.
what makes this an hour long. Or more. Because it's more.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
Anyway, if you get a chance and you want some background noise, it's pretty cool to binge watch. There are moments that are funny. Topanga! Rachel!
That's not. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Good night.
That is Rachel. Bye.
Thank you for watching the whole time. But yeah, I mean, it's something you can watch, something to show your kids in the future, or your kids to show their kids. It all does relate, which is cool. And I don't know, I think the 2 series overall, you know, I think I would give it a 7 overall.
Oh, you're saying as a whole?
Yeah, like together.
Yeah.
I think they are a very well-rounded story together.
Wow.
I don't think you need Girl Meets World, but if you wanted to get a little bit more context.
Unlike other reunion series or whatever the case, I don't think Girl Meets World ruins what came before it.
No.
I don't think there's enough there to ruin the characters or anything like that.
No.
The only character that I would say they ruined is Sean. So if you really, really love Sean, don't expect an Angela Sean wedding or anything like that. You're not getting it.
Spoiler.
Yeah. And I mean, I never even wanted that. I didn't really care that much about the relationship. Sometimes, both lights. Now we really have to end this. But I didn't really care that much about their relationship. That, like, it wasn't that important to me. I always felt Sean was a loner, and he was always going to be that guy that we know. We all know him. He's out there, people. That guy we know that jumps around from girl to girl till they're 70 and, you know, maybe gets a decent job and likes his life that way, and that's it. What? It's true. There are people like that in this world. And that's Sean.
Sure.
And whether he got married in that show or not, he's his dad. That was the point of his character. He is his dad.
Sure.
It is. Anyway, we're going to end on that note, I guess.
Oh, and by the way, we voted today. I hope y'all did too.
Jackie's from the South now.
No,
Y'all.
I hope everyone who's watching did, and everyone who will watch in the future. It's very important. It's our rights. We fought for them. Do it. That's all I've got to say about that.
I voted, but I like to keep my politics.
Hey, I didn't say anything.
I'm just saying.
All I said was go vote. If you get the
If
chance,
you'd like
do it.
to. You don't have to.
You should.
I wholeheartedly believe that you do not need to vote if you don't want to. You should not feel like you are forced to go out and vote. It is your right to not vote. That is also a vote, whether people want to think it or not. And the one person is sticking with us, if you don't agree, or you do agree, is Jackie. Jackie's the one person, so nobody's listening to me anyway. It's probably better off that way, because nobody agrees with me usually. So.
Anyway. Well, on that note.
No, I mean, she brought it up, so I'm just saying, like, I feel... Hi, Sue. I just feel as though you have three decisions. It's either Republican or Democrat, because we're not allowed to vote for any other parties for some reason, or you don't have to. You're not forced to go out and vote. It's not something that you need to do. You are an American. Not voting is a vote. That's how I feel.
I'm a woman. I haven't been able to vote that long, so I'm
Doesn't
going
mean
to use
anything.
that to my advantage.
Well, before this gets into territory,
it changes things.
before this gets into territory that we don't want it to, I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie, and this is Nate.
Here are the Hahns signing out.